Kyle Shanahan comes out and he says this was his first time his being Jauan Jennings playing X, and he'll be doing that the rest of the year. Jennings leads the team in routes. He leads the team in percentage of snaps outside. I think they drafted Ricky Pearsall to help change the offense and almost have Ricky Pearsall be sort of an option route runner.
Look at the release.
There's your separation.
Great route.
Stutter and go. Gets by clean.
That is unbelievable.
May be the greatest catch I've ever seen.
All right, Jauan Jennings, buy or sell? I mean, he was an integral part of this offense. 11 targets, 7 grabs, 93 yards. And Matt, I think we saw him play more X receiver than I think we've ever seen him play for the San Francisco 49ers offense. So buy or sell this strong performance from Jauan Jennings?
Oh, yeah. James Coe, buckle up, baby. Because this one, I actually think I want to do a little bit of a extended breakdown on here.
Yeah.
And because we got some alignment stuff to talk about here, as you mentioned. I'm even gonna, because I think we should put this one on YouTube because I got some thoughts on it. So I'm gonna share my screen here with you, buddy boy.
What the hell?
Yeah, that's right.
Let's
So
go.
because I posted the NGS route chart on this, and I'll get to that in a second. So as you mentioned, after the game, Kyle Shanahan comes out and he says this was his first time his being Jauan Jennings playing X, and he'll be doing that the rest of the year. And that immediately, I watched this game. I'm not sitting there charting, how many times he's on the line of scrimmage or how many times he's outside, the whole stuff. I'm just watching the game on Sunday. But it does dawn on me, I feel like this is something different from Jauan Jennings. And Jennings is a guy that, I've always had a bit of a fascination with because he's a great run blocker. And I just love, I got a bit of a weird affinity for Jauan Jennings, and having a weird affinity for wide receivers is kind of the whole bit, right? Yeah. And Jennings is a dirty work guy who's a late down player. He pretty much had been kind of like a power slot for this team, which again, is up my alley, like these power slot role player guys, and sort of adding that dimension into NFL offense, I think is really fascinating. Jennings has been somebody, I've talked to Jauan Jennings before about wide receiver run blocking and stuff. So I've always really liked the player, but never did I really think of him as an X receiver, as a guy that's a Brandon Aiyuk replacement. And so to hear Kyle Shanahan say that after the game, my attention is immediately perked. My interest is perked in this. And then you go back and look at the data. Jennings leads the team in routes. He leads the team in percentage of snaps outside. And then, Debo's Debo. He's doing the flanker move around stuff, the gadgety, whatever. He's snaps in the backfield, the whole thing. Debo's Debo. His role obviously is not changing in a post Aiyuk world, because this is what I thought was the most fascinating thing with this wide receiver room with Brandon Aiyuk out, is that who's going to play that X receiver role, because nobody really had experience doing it. Jennings is a power slot. Ricky Pearsall is a man coverage beater, but he's not really a press coverage beater, and he projects more as a flanker slot type. I think they drafted Ricky Pearsall to help change the offense, that in future seasons to be more of an 11 personnel team and to spread things out a little bit and almost have Ricky Pearsall be sort of an option route runner, a guy that can beat man coverage in the slot, because they couldn't beat man coverage from other than Aiyuk's spot, in the Super Bowl. They wanted to add that different dimension. We talked about that a lot when Pearsall was drafted. People can go find that content, whatever. But anyway, so back to Jennings. He plays X receiver, but if you think about this actually does make a lot of sense, James, because Jennings, his primary role for this team previously, and I'll pull up the route chart here so you can see it and the people can see it on YouTube if we decide to do this. You see the route chart, it's all these outbreakers, right? Yeah. A lot of outbreakers from both sides of the field. And previously, you think about Jauan Jennings' role, it was mostly as a third down guy, right? Third and fourth down. That was the whole thing. I believe 10 of his 19 catches in the regular season last year were on third down. That's crazy. On third down, man coverage rates go up. You're mostly going to see, the league is zone heavy, the whole deal, whatever, but you're primarily going to get most of your man coverage on the later downs. So Jennings is super productive on late down. That shows he can beat man coverage. Outbreakers are typically man coverage beating routes. So I think this is kind of inspired to say, this guy that has produced against man coverage, because if you're going to play X, you're going to have to win these ISO battles. That's why if a guy's playing X, we care more about their man coverage stats than we do their zone coverage stats. That's obviously important in reception perception. So Jennings just like fits the bill of he's not going to be Aiyuk, right? He's not going to take the top off. He's not going to perform like an elite player in isolation, but he can certainly handle these X receiver roles. So I think this is really good for Jennings. I think it's really good for the 49ers offense. And I actually think this is really good for Ricky Pearsall too, because he can be the guy who leads the team, and he did lead the team in slot rate. He can move around a little bit, and we can see him kind of win on some of those in-breaking routes like we saw him win on against the Bucs. Obviously, I want to see this against, speaking of the Bucs, I want to see this against a different defense that's not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, of course. But good first start for Jennings and Pearsall in these new roles.
Yeah, you talk about the role here for Jauan Jennings. He played 75% of his snaps lined up out wide, whereas before he was very much a 50-50 inside-outside player on the season. But again, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, with no Brandon Aiyuk coming off of that bye week, Jauan Jennings activated as an outside receiver, 73%. Of his snaps coming lined up out wide. A very interesting performance here from Jauan Jennings.